Hi, this is Laura Chappell, and in this tech tip, we're going to take a look at some of Wireshark version 4's new features and changed functionality. So I'm just going to focus on some of the more interesting changes in Wireshark version 4 coming up. And in a moment, I'm going to take you into Wireshark version 3.7.2, which is a experimental version leading to version 4. So first of all, you'll notice with Wireshark version 4 that the default layout has changed, but you can always change it back in your profiles if you prefer the previous layout, and I'll show you that. Lots of changes happen to the conversation in the endpoints window, and then a lot of changes in the display filter area. So let's go take a look at this new version. Again, you'll see in the upper right hand corner that I'm in the development build, and you may see a bug show up in this build. In fact, that's why my window is not full-sized right here, is because we'll hit a little bug here in a moment. So I'll go ahead and just start capturing on my Ethernet adapter. Come over here, I'll just hulu.com. Let's see there. So we're just loading up the Hulu site and close that down. All right, so first thing you'll notice is, of course, we have, and I'll stop this capture, we have a different layout by default. Where we used to have the 3 stacked panes, we now have the packet list pane on top, the packet details pane on the bottom left, packet bytes pane on the bottom right. I'm in the default profile right now, and I'm going to make a new profile. So I'm going to click the profile column, and here's a bug you can see right here. It's going off the screen at the bottom. It's not detecting the size of the screen space. So here, I'll go ahead and do my right mouse click and say new, and I'm going to call this Wireshark v4. Oh, I already have one there. Okay, it's showing me that. So let me get rid of that, and I will just go into this Wireshark v4 profile. And in this profile, I've changed the font size so it's a little easier to see, but if you don't like this layout that we have here, you can go into Edit Preferences, go to Layout, and you can change it back to the original old layout style by clicking the very first image in the upper left-hand corner there. Okay, let's go into Conversations, and then we'll go into Endpoints. So the Conversations window has changed quite a bit. These tabs that we have on top, you can pull and remove those if you wish, so those can be off to the side. When you close them, they go snap back onto the original Conversations window. In addition, you can right mouse click on any of the column headings and turn off columns that you don't want to see, and you can also apply filters into those columns as well. Most of this we already had, but it was just in a different location. So we had the ability to follow streams and do some graphs and things like that. And if we go ahead and close this window, we pop over to Statistics and Endpoints. You'll see the same style of look here, and you have the same functionality where you can pull tabs out separately, close them, they go back. Right mouse click on the column header and get rid of different columns that you don't want, and you can do some filtering inside the columns as well. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the filtering, the display filtering that's changed. So we have something called a layer definition filter now. So sometimes inside of packets you may see that we have one protocol encapsulated inside of another protocol encapsulated inside of another protocol. So you may end up with something, for example, where you have multiple IP headers and multiple places where you have IP addresses in there. You can now specify which IP addresses you are interested in, the first instance or the second instance, let's say. So I'll capture some traffic and just show you that. So in Wireshark, I'm just going to start another capture going, and then I'm going to run traceroute. And it's these ICMP time to live exceeded that are interesting. So I'll put in a filter for ICMP. There's our pings, there's our responses coming back from routers along the way. I'm going to stop this capture and just take a look inside of one of these. So I'm looking inside of this time to live exceeded frame. Now I'm going to move this bytes column way over here. I don't need that right now. When I expand this, I've got an IP header up here, and then in the ICMP portion, I've got another IP header. So I have two instances of IP headers. So if I open this up, I can see that there's the first IP header. So there's the first source address field. So I'm going to do a filter here, which is ip.src #1 =, and I will look for this number 168.0.1 in the first instance only. So all of these have this in the first instance only. If I look down at the second instance of the IP header and look at the source address field, that's coming from 192.168.0.100. So it's triggering on that first IP address location, not the second one. Now we also have this universal quantifier, any and all. An example here is if you're looking for all UDP.port fields, that's source port and destination port fields, regardless of where they are in the packet, to be greater than a certain value, you can put all in front of it. We also have some new display filter functions, max, minimum, and absolute. And so that would go on the right-hand side. So you could say UDP.port =, max, open paren, 45, close paren. This is a fix that the logical AND now has a higher precedence than the logical OR. We've had a problem with this one in the past. And if you built a filter where you said something like, let's see, TCP.port =, 80 and IP.src =, 2.2.2.2 or IP header _len greater than 20. Okay. All right. If you used this in the past, Wireshark would put in a yellow background here saying, look, you need to define explicitly what you want to do here with parentheses, because you're mixing an ampersand, and you've got or in there. And the precedence of those was backwards. So usually it's ampersand and takes precedence over or, but it had it backwards. It is always a good idea to explicitly put in your parentheses to say what you are interested in, because that can change the meaning of your filter if you don't have parentheses in there, and it's good to be explicit. There is a strict equality operator, and this is like using the all quantifier up above, where you basically would say something like ip.src =, 10.0.0.5. That means all instances of that field must be equal to that value you're interested in. Then there's an any option here where you would say any EQ. So if any IP source address that's in the packets is 10.2.2.2, show it to me. So there have been a number of changes here. Remember also that we have changes to the exclamation point =, functionality, and I went through that in an earlier tool tip, or an earlier tech tip. That was in tech tip number 3, avoiding Wireshark's exclamation point =, hell. So these are some of the things to watch for in Wireshark version 4.